Welcome to another pod. I'm Varo. Last one it was just me, but this time I got
Carter James Golden
the
in the
GOAT,
flesh.
good friend. Mainly we just want to talk about launching a brand. The first couple steps, how to scale it specifically on TikTok since that's what we're doing, and how to branch out from there, obviously the other marketplaces.
Yeah, maybe you can speak on kind of, obviously you're the one that really did the R&D development, picking the products and stuff like that in the beginning. Now obviously we're working on it together a little bit. But what did you see kind of coming from the affiliate side last year that kind of really got you excited about it? Obviously you kind of went all in, stopped doing the Amazon as much. Where did that start for you?
Yeah, I mean, ever since I started Amazon, I was always thinking about private label at the end, but I just felt like I never had enough capital just because I knew it was a heavy PPC game, right? It was heavy ads, so I had to have a good budget every single month on ads. It just never felt like enough. Then obviously I went into TikTok and just switched my whole mindset of you don't need a lot of money to start. So that's kind of why I switched over a good amount, obviously from Amazon. But it's funny because like you said, like now we have brands that we're working on together, and we're both in the R&D phases. But like, there's so much different from like R&D phases from China. Like with our brand, we're sourcing it from China currently, and R&D phase from that was, I would say, a big difference from the R&D phases here in America. Mainly because one, lead times, even on samples, are pretty quick here in America, and they really want your money a lot more, in my opinion. Like with the Chinese, I feel like a lot of people are trying to get samples, and I also know a lot of people get samples just because they want one-offs, right? So let's just say, like the red light's a good example. Like people here selling for what, like $1,000, but you could buy a sample over there from Alibaba for 400 or 500.
Yeah, probably less.
Exactly, probably
Yeah.
less. So a lot of people do that, and that's why I'm pretty sure like the suppliers over there are more like, okay, I don't think we're gonna get business from them. So like, once you place your first PO, then they're more really happy to help you, right? Compared
And you've
to,
seen that here too as well. Obviously,
Agreed.
people are loyal to the money, but
Yeah, when you're not spending, then they don't want to work too hard. But yeah, after the first PO, first or purchase order, that's when your reps really start to help you, in my opinion.
so getting kind of past that point in the beginning, super helpful. Even obviously you don't rush it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just understanding that things get easier over time. You kind of have to get over that hump, especially with each manufacturer, and then you have to get over the hump for the product and the whole thing with the brands. So
I think something that you always told me that stuck with me a good amount is like just painting the long-term vision. That's with everything you do, right? But it's very important with the manufacturers because the manufacturers, I'm pretty sure they get so many people that just place one PO and the brand doesn't do well for them, so that's it. That's all they got, right?
because most brands fail,
Exactly. I
because
mean,
the
it's
founders
insane.
aren't really about like
So they probably
aren't
get that
truly
like a
interested.
shit ton, There's so many brands that are just one-off purchase orders. So just painting that long-term vision, like, hey, like we plan to purchase this amount every single month, and it's expected to grow. So I think that helps a lot on their end because
Sell everybody.
yeah,
Sell
exactly.
the manufacturers, sell the creators, sell your friends
That's
and
one thing I've
family.
been working on, which is really good.
Yeah, because you kind of, obviously you don't need to talk it up crazy and say like lying and stuff like that. But when you're working with someone, if you downplay everything you're doing, then that's how they're going to think of you. Versus if you kind of paint the vision that you have for the thing, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
agreed.
you don't necessarily even have to lie or anything like that. But if you can just paint that vision to somebody else and get people kind of on board with that vision, especially when they're such a large piece of the puzzle with the manufacturing. I don't know if we even really thought about it with the tariffs and stuff like that, but like a lot of the new stuff that we're working on is all US made. And I think that'll have some type of effect. I mean, I don't think tariffs long term will be much of an issue, but obviously China is the focal point of current focuses in that aspect. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a
But either
risk
way, whatever
factor.
like you're planning to launch, I think it's for sure good to just look at manufacturers here in the US. It's more long-term, in my opinion, more sustainable. But there's still nine-figure companies that are straight from China.
Yeah, well, building and then outsourcing is kind of what a lot of companies will do because of the lead times and stuff like that. Like, once you're placing huge $1 million POs and stuff like that, it's much easier to start thinking about those cost savings and not worrying about the lead time when it comes to getting stuff in, because it's going to be double when it's out of the country
Yeah.
or more. And when you first launch a product, you're likely going to sell out. Like, either you do really bad and you don't sell out, like you're hoping you're going to sell out really, because that means that you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And the supply chain's always just going to be messy in the beginning. And even, I mean, we've seen a lot of big brands still sell
selling
out.
out. Like Neurogum, you know, Better
Selling
Lungs.
millions a month, still selling out. Like the amount of money they're leaving on the table, like they're not trying to leave money on the table.
Exactly.
So it's
They're not
just
doing that by choice. It's literally just
systemic.
manufacturing. They just have to figure out that issue, which is it's always going to be an issue, especially at scale. You know how you mentioned.
Yeah.
But it's a problem you just got to be looking at when it comes. Don't try to focus on it too much, especially when you're starting. Right. Focus on the problems you got currently. Then the bigger you are, the bigger problems. But
those first POs, picking a product, I mean, I think those are all things that people are thinking about when it comes to kind of the marketplaces. And obviously you didn't really go into something that was super, maybe in the
Massive.
past it wasn't
yeah.
non-competitive, but I think most people, especially coming from the Amazon kind of marketplace, I think is something we can talk about, because I think most people have like 80, 90% of people are thinking about like, yeah, a private label somewhere that I like to get to.
Yeah.
But I don't think they necessarily have any roadmap in their mind of how they're actually going to get there, because even if they have $1 million or something, what, they're just going to burn half of it or
Yeah.
burn
exactly.
$100,000
Doesn't matter
trying to
how
launch
much
a
money you
brand.
have.
It's not a money thing, because you can start it for very little, you know, $10,000, $20,000. And the ROIs are crazy compared to making 20, 30% on a product, but then you're not captivating current sales on a listing on Amazon. You're actually creating that demand, and creating that demand is the entire thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
That's a skill in itself. And once you master that skill down, I mean, you just got a money machine, right? As we've seen with multiple people who have a good system down. But it's funny. I was kind of thinking about what Alex Hormozy kind of just mentioned recently. He was saying that people don't do stuff you're passionate about. People confuse it. Like when you're doing something, you become passionate about it. So you're not passionate from the jump. So it kind of made me think a little bit, just because obviously product selection, I always tell everybody like, hey, launch something that you're kind of passionate about, or just something you're using, right? Because you have some expertise in that field. But then again, you could just launch anything and just become passionate about it, right? Become knowledgeable about it. Because you're going to be doing so much research, you're going to become knowledgeable about
people
it.
tend to like the things that they're good at,
Yeah,
you know.
that's true.
So it's like even when you're young, like you say that you like basketball, football, whatever it is, but maybe that was just something that you excelled at, and naturally when you're winning at something, you're
You're
going
going
to
to
like
like
it.
it. Exactly. You're not going to like something you suck at. So it was kind of interesting, you know, because I applied it to just like the product selection. Because in my opinion, there's no competition, especially with TikTok, you know. There's enough room at the table for any product selection you have. Obviously, they become harder. I think we've seen that, you know, but it's not like Amazon. It's not about budget-wise. It's more about creativity-wise and how viral you can go with your product.
It's not about ranking, you know, on a
That's the key.
page. You
That's
know,
the key.
people are
No one's
searching for
searching up.
something very little. I'd like to know what percent, but less than 5% of sales on TikTok are from search.
I
feel
think for
like.
us, like 10%, which is still like, I mean, we're not doing much, but that's still a low amount, you know? It
I
probably
wonder
gets
if
lower at
that's
scale.
spillover from videos as well. Like people go search it up.
Just not give the creator commission as we
Yeah.
as we say.
Because it's, yeah, that's the thing that I think most people miss is they try to go somewhere where there isn't as much competition, and then they're going for a market that's small.
Yeah, really small market cap, you know? That's the main thing I tell people now, you know? Obviously, as we've seen, you know, our market cap's small, you know? It's not 9 figures yet, you know, but that means it's pretty fucking small compared to other brands, right? Brands are doing billions a year versus like our market is just very small. So
Other industries. And then I think it is smart to niche down. I think once you have more of a mindset of the larger category. So like with sleep or something like that.
yeah,
Sleep itself is a large category, cleaning, whatever it is. So if you find a niche that you find to be lower competition, it's fine to do, obviously, but just having that wider vision of how to expand the catalog and kind of what category you're really in is pretty helpful, I think, for the long-term vision and growth of something, because you can maximize a small niche pretty quickly
yeah,
versus, like, are you just going to be one SKU the rest of your life? If you pick a great category like Evo Goods or something like that, you can have one product that's worth $50 million.
exactly.
But that's just hitting something that is, obviously that's a growing market too.
I feel like delegating is a big thing too, right? When people want to start their brands, they really want to delegate a lot because it's a good habit, right? Especially coming from the Amazon space. If you're coming from the Amazon space, delegate everything. You could delegate everything, and you're making good money. With this, in my opinion, you shouldn't delegate. Damn near
Well, you
nothing.
delegate once you have it figured out.
Exactly. You know,
Right.
but you can't
It's
delegate
like-
like the product selection, the label making, like that
You're
involves
basically just getting like
creativity.
Amazon automation or something like that. When
Exactly, that makes
you're like,
sense.
hey, we're gonna launch your brand for you. Like even when we're helping people launch brands, it's not like we're like, hey, launch this product, do this, do this, do this. It's like, no, we're having a conversation just kind of like this
Exactly.
of like what they're interested in, helping them pick that product and helping them speed run that in some way. Because even with Amazon, it's a little different because the product doesn't matter as much. It's more about the arbitrage. So it is highly different.
Yeah, very
But-
different. There's so many people in that from the Amazon space I see coming into private label. I know I just seen recently someone say like, "Hey, I might just give up on this." You know, it seems like private label like seems like the market doesn't seem too well for the product I'm selecting, which could be true, you know. But in my opinion, you can launch any product and you can do $1 million a year with any product. I don't think that's hard. I wouldn't say that's hard, especially with TikTok, right? So it just depends on what your goal is. Obviously, you're not gonna make the next Facebook. You're not gonna make the next Apple, right? That's very unlikely. But
Because
any
people
product.
aren't innovating as much. You know, when you don't have a new product or something like that, like Facebook or Apple, obviously those are software plays for the most part. But
Yeah,
it's kind of, it's not a hustle, obviously, but it's no different than, say, some service-based business where you're not doing something necessarily differently, but you're just providing the best customer service. You're iterating in smaller increments than you are building new technologies.
yeah,
So it might be 5% different. And the biggest differential is obviously the marketing aspect, because most brands rely on marketing, you know, like
all brands you could
cars and
say just
everything.
different forms of marketing. You know, let's say all brands rely on marketing now. It's just different forms that are coming into play to the masses. Because I mean, UGC has always been a thing, right? But this form of UGC, in my opinion, hasn't really been like the organic form. Right?
Organic UGC.
Organic UGC. Like when people used to say organic drop shippers, they'd be like, "Ah, okay, you're just drop shippers." I wish I was doing that rather than Amazon. I'll tell you that much.
100%.
Those people are killing it right now, right? On
Because
the
they
brand
figure
side
out the
and TikTok.
content side.
Yeah, exactly.
Organic dropshipping is not spending money on ads. Like that's why the Collective, which was Jimmy Farley's old group that turned into Your First Dollar with Rob and stuff like that, he was so early on that and had that figured out, which is why it was such a great partnership.
Yeah,
Because I've been in there for a few years now, and I was just watching it. I don't know. Obviously, I was into Amazon and stuff like that, but I always wanted to do private label, so that was my thought process of kind of watching the space and trying to educate myself a little bit on those calls or whatever it is. Those are great guys, but the content side is a thing to figure out. And I think people are so quick to delegate that side because they don't want to do it. Obviously, they don't want to post the videos. Most people don't. Most
Yeah.
people are never going to be even on social media, let alone advertising products. Although I do think more people are going to be affiliate creators versus personal brand scalers type of thing, you know? Because you're not posting for your friends and family, you're posting for the algorithm. You're buying an account, you're growing an account. It's not kind of that Facebook thing of friends and family.
yeah,
It's
I get you.
just a broader marketplace. I think that's why the test reels feature is pretty interesting on Instagram because it's showing stuff to nobody that is your followers. So you're
Then you
more
can see what
likely
the
to
masses
post.
want.
Well, you're more likely to post it too because you don't want to get made fun of from your friends and family, but you still want to see if something can do well because it's that hump that everything
Yeah.
has that hump. Like, you know, you have 100,000 followers, then you're like, oh, I don't care because I have 100,000 followers. But it's like you're never gonna get there if you
Exactly. If you don't start, yeah. The same thing with TikTok affiliate itself. You know, you're never gonna get that 6-figure profit month if you don't post one video, right? If you don't post videos, you're not gonna get there. You know.
just keep studying, bro.
And that's one thing I feel like people for sure do, right? Even when you're launching a brand, just overstudy rather than just taking action. You know, just start, right? Like us, we pretty much dropped our COGS down 40-50%. And we didn't multiply our PO by a huge amount, but we dropped it by half. And that's just ignorance, right? It's just like we were
Not shopping around enough.
Not shopping around enough, we're just very early and costed us a decent amount, but it's just part of the game, right? I could have waited an extra month to launch and things could have been way different type of thing in my head, So just speed, especially in like the game we're in, it just speeds everything. You think about the product, the market's good. You wait a month, there's like 5 products like that. Maybe they're not doing well too, right? But now you guys are in the same place. Now it's just marketing. Who's the best marketer? Who could hire the best marketer, right? Who could make the best marketer? That's not the place you kind of want to be. You kind of want to be the shark of your marketplace, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we could speak on like picking a product. Obviously, spoke on things that align with you, things you're interested in, just because when you are somewhat interested in something versus someone that is not, or someone that really is, the person that really is going to outcompete you just because of their interest in it and their knowledge in the space. So trying to get into something that you don't really have, just because you see that there's big competitors, which we actually lean towards. We're excited when we see a space full of big competitors and like lots of revenue and stuff like that versus, oh, there's not a lot of competition. Because if
Exactly.
there's not a lot of competition, there's not a lot of demand.
Like you're making the
chasing
market
that
for
demand.
it. Yeah, it's not good.
If you're creating the market, that's going to be much harder than just taking a piece of it or growing that market or something.
Especially when like there's a big competitor and they're not on TikTok, right? That's the main
Love
thing.
that.
If they're not on TikTok and they're big, that means they have a huge budget, but they're not on TikTok yet. So now we gotta speed that up, right? Hear that ducks? They're ducks, right?
Geese.
Geese.
Yep, they're coming back. It's getting a little warmer. Coming back from
So
Florida.
many birds here, dude. But
Lots of trees.
lots of trees. Yeah, product selection matters a lot. I say just market cap, how we were talking about earlier, right? When there's someone doing 9 figures, I mean, you should love that because if you get 1% of that, I'm pretty sure you'll be happy, you know? Especially your first year. I mean, we know brands. Alex said it recently too. I mean, he knows brands that just launched 3-4 months ago doing $1 million a month already. Like on TikTok, right? You know, strictly on TikTok, not counting Amazon, not counting Shopify. Like you're gonna get some natural spillover, as we've seen as well.
Yeah, and I think people see the opportunity and stuff like that, but they don't understand how that can be possible for them, right? So how do you think about kind of helping people understand the opportunity that is compared to what it used to be with, say you launch a product on Amazon or something like that and you're running PPC and you're doing this, doing that, Facebook ads, whatever it is. How do you kind of articulate the difference between the old model of building brands versus the new?
I guess where I see of like, oh, it's possible, is just the marketing aspect, to be honest, because that's all it is, right? As we see shit brands, branding wise, and they're doing amazing. So obviously we know that it doesn't really matter too much about the product or even the quality, because we know some products out there that aren't the best quality, but they're crushing the bigger competitors that have better quality in my head. So I think that was the big like switch for me personally, is just knowing that I could make a video myself, not rely on anybody, not spend no amount of money, just me, like a one-man team in a way, and like get this product off the ground, right? Get it to 50, 100K a month, compared to
Because you came
PPC.
from the affiliate side.
Exactly, because I came from the affiliate side, I kind of already, came from that knowledge. Like I was like, okay, if I make 10 grand, but I did 80K in GMV, like, dude, let me just turn the tables in a way. And that's obviously the first step I always tell people, but I think that's the biggest like switch in my head, right? When, like, private labels is almost in everybody's mind, especially if they're coming from like the Amazon or any type of arbitrage. But they're like, okay, I know I need to spend a good amount in ads, right? Or I need to pay a UGC creator $1,000 for one video, and I need 10 of them, right? Like,
And then you have to spend money on the ads.
then spend money on, and you also got to buy the video, right? They're gonna post the video, but now you got to buy the video, The video rides for 30 days, 60 days, whatever. So it's like there's so many costs involved with it. Now, like
The costs are decreasing
exactly.
exponentially for launching a brand. I mean, you see people, especially it's pretty interesting on the personal brand side. Anyone with a decent personal brand can launch a private label and make way more than they were off the ads on the YouTube videos or whatever it is. So a lot of the smart ones are doing that, but they also don't have the business mindset of kind of how to really do that.
Yeah.
So they kind of usually just stick to running ads for some other company that's making money from that, obviously, if they're paying you money. So it's like,
Yeah, some people are probably happy with like the money they pay. Let's just say if you get sponsored by like AG1, they give you 10 grand a month. Sounds great, right? But you could just make your own and make a good amount. Like Santa Cruz is a perfect example, right? I'm pretty sure all the sales pretty much come from personal brand, and he pumps it on Amazon. Like he makes great money on Amazon, and he still obviously has some affiliates out there that are doing well, but he doesn't depend on it. He doesn't need it. His personal brand's strong, and the products align with him, right? They're not some bullshit products. They're great products. That's why I love the founder story. That's why I tell anybody who wants to launch, like, try to make a little founder story,
If you're willing to do it, it's gonna turn your growth exponential.
Oh my God, it's gonna make it grow so much faster, dude. I mean, just like Echo. Look at Echo. They did 40 mil last year on TikTok alone. Insane. And I'll pretty much say like 40, 50% of the sales were from him. because he posted so much content, and he's just raw, you know. So I feel like a lot of people, when I say founder story, they want to be like not as authentic, not as raw. They're just like, hey, this is a new SKU, come get it, blah blah blah. Because I've seen that, you know, I'm working with brands that like the founder story is great, but they're just not documenting it the right way. Like, just be raw. Like, hey, I just fucking woke up, right? Cuss if you cuss, right? Not saying like just be you. No one's gonna be better at being you.
And that's why picking a product that aligns with you will allow you to post those videos and be more authentic. And
Exactly. And whatever, like there's a product that aligns with you, that's $1 billion like market cap in my head. Because we use stuff every single day, right? We all use the same thing, so you can't say like, oh, I don't really align with stuff. Like, dude, you align with toothbrushes because you use them every single day.
you're
I'm not saying launch
looking
them,
where you're
but-
spending that money.
Exactly. Look
know?
where you spend money. That's the main thing. A lot of people just spend money kind of dumb, but that's the best market to be in my head.
Yeah, I think we'll see an evolution of, obviously, products and supplements and stuff like that have been a huge thing right now, but I think we'll see it moving into other directions and other categories, services. I think products and services are the biggest too, but I think services will, even now they get, I mean, pressure washing, anything that can get views and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
the amount of people that get clients and stuff like that just from, you know, satisfying videos or cleaning or, you know, cutting grass and recording it.
Yeah, I know
Those
people that do that. You know, they post on TikTok and they come out with a Windows solution, you know, something like that, and it does decent, right? So there's always products you could launch. Now, don't be a sellout, right? Don't like make some bullshit, but you know, test out. And I've seen that multiple times from car detailers, you know. So I
That's
think
interesting.
you could do a lot.
The biggest unlock for me from Amazon to private label was the margin potential, and not just making more money, but rather I was trying to, like, I like to make like mental models about things, and the Amazon side, it made sense, right? You buy something, you can see it's gonna sell for more, you see how often it sells, everything's like somewhat guaranteed in some
Yeah.
aspects, you know, with risk factors. But realizing that everyone's paying 10-20% cost of goods on the things they're selling, and then the rest of that budget they're using for ads and money and stuff like that, or, you know, marketing. It's like, okay, all I have to do is figure that out,
Yeah.
right? So, and there's so much margin there that, you know, you do $1 million in sales, cost of goods $150,000, $100,000, and then the rest of that is like sell the product.
Marketing.
It's
That's
like,
it.
what? I can't do that? Like, of course, like other people are doing it, people
Yeah.
just like you. Why can't I do it? You just need to figure that out, and then catching the new trends. I mean, this is just one of the opportunities that has popped up in the past couple decades. I mean, there's always something. It seems like every like 5 years there's
Yeah, like a
there's an
huge
Amazon,
play.
there's a Shopify, there's
Yeah.
I don't know. But cheaper advertising modules that eventually kind of get,
Stagnant, you know.
well, they get more competitive. So like if companies start spending billions of dollars into TikTok, the opportunity is going to decrease. It's still likely the best opportunity, but the return on ad spend is going to be different. Like from a ROAS perspective, which, you know, most people are just spending on ads and getting that return daily.
Yeah.
But I do think this opportunity window is going to be higher because it's not direct ad spend returns daily, right?
Yeah, a company's not willing to spend 100K on retainers and like not see growth the next month. But hey, that second month you could have been, you know, 10x. You could have got 10 ROAS, right? So just go by. But I just don't think most of the big brands have unlocked the retainer view yet, you know, which is good. This is your advantage, you know.
I'm pretty surprised by Goalie, honestly, how early they got on, how much they've really pushed it.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have a great founder that was willing to throw out a bet. I mean, their marketing budgets are huge. Like all these companies are spending, I think I looked it up the other day, the world spends like $1.5 trillion a year on advertising.
Yeah.
So
Insane.
it's like,
Stupid.
these huge companies can just throw little bets, let it see if it's going to work out. But a lot of people just, you know, corporatization, not always willing to kind of push those new levels,
I mean,
push into new things.
And he had that vision, you know, right? They're gonna go bankrupt. He bought them. He had that vision from the jump. He had to, right? Because you weren't depending on Amazon, right? You weren't depending on retail. You need a new form of marketing for that type of product. Because everybody knew Goldie already.
Yeah, for older generations, they
Yeah.
brought it to the younger, which is going to let them print for another few decades. Interesting.
And their spillover is insane. I mean, they're burning on TikTok. You don't need to burn, but obviously, if you want to get to, I don't know what they're doing a month now, maybe 10 mil. I honestly don't know, 5, 10 mil on TikTok alone. Obviously, it's burning, so there's no margin in my opinion with that because, but they're getting great returns because obviously the spillover. And imagine giving a 18-year-old a brand new car, 18-year-old a condo in Miami, like that alone is gonna print.
Yeah, it's an LTV business, so they have a lot of lifetime value for those customers. They're maxing out the opportunity, especially how early they were. The return that they're getting from that in the longer term is going to be insane. I mean, compared to spending money on Facebook, wherever it is, even effort-wise, it seems so much easier to, like running a bunch of Facebook ads and stuff like that. You might be getting small margins and stuff on the front end. The long term of being the TikTok brand
It's insane.
I mean, those videos don't stop getting views. You run an ad, you pay for the views, it's done. You got your return.
Now, what would you say is the main difference in, like, let's just say a goalie and the bulk supplements? Because we've seen them both give out crazy amounts of money in, like, less than a month time span, just so people could really see the raw reality, right? I don't want people to watch this. Maybe, like, someone's killing on Amazon right now, right? They have a $250,000 ready to blow. I don't want that person to blow the $250,000 just on retainers and giving money out, right?
Definitely seems like bulk supplements could still be a success story if they were to continue that investment, right? So I feel like they had a piece of money or something like that that they wanted to push out, and they pushed it all out, where they could have just put 10-20% behind it and like kind of thought of it in a longer term vision rather than just month to month. Like, I don't know what they're still doing now, but I mean, the bad taste that they put in the mouth of creators is going to be.
Doesn't matter how much they give out now. I mean, that's always going to be there.
They might be able to turn it around in some aspects, but there's always going to be that kind of behind them, and especially when it comes to the best form of marketing right now, it's probably one of the worst moves I've ever
You
seen.
screwed yourself. And if you don't know what it means, it pretty much means that bulk supplements, they had like a $600 if you post 30 videos in a month or something like that. And they just kept trying to cheat the creators, like cutting it short. They didn't pay a lot of people out. Like, some of us got paid, thankfully, but a lot of people didn't get paid, and everybody made it public. Everybody was talking about them. They left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Like, even these big groups, right? These groups with 5,000-6,000 paid members, like, they were talking about it. So you kind of screwed yourself over kind of in the long run in my head, because this is the move to do if you're a brand with TikTok, in my opinion. So
it's only the beginning. I mean, TikTok itself is likely going to last a few more years, and then Instagram, then all these other social platforms. I can't think of a single social platform that won't enact a similar model to TikTok.
I mean, Amazon has a decent similar model, right, with shoppable videos.
Yeah, but they just
haven't
don't have
incorporated it as much yet. But
the day Amazon app adds ability to scroll products,
they will eventually, in my head.
I feel like they already have. I've seen things
they
like
have
it.
something similar, but they're not just, they're UGC videos though. Like, I'm saying, like, when I say UGC, I mean like, today we're gonna unbox this. Like, no, I want to see someone make a bullshit story. Like, I want to be entertained. I don't want to just see.
People don't go to Amazon for entertainment.
Exactly, bro.
Unless
I
they're
feel like
reading bad reviews or something like that.
those
Love
reviews
doing
go
that.
crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't think it's a platform where people are going to for that. And being the platform where people are going for entertainment, I just had a thought of, obviously Instagram, X, those platforms are going to have something similar, but live streaming platforms is also interesting.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be huge.
Having Twitch, having Stake.
Yeah, Stake. Oh no, Stake's the betting platform. Kick.
Kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just having those types of integrated entertainment to whatever, because people want to be entertained. I mean, people used to watch the TV channels where it was just advertising products, right? I don't know what that was called. Forget.
The as seen on TV stuff. Well, there's like specific channels for it.
It was literally channels of just advertising products. I don't know what that was or why people even watched it, but it was obviously entertaining enough. And if you have a similar platform online, I mean, now even when you're watching Amazon Prime, when there's ads, you can click and have them send your information, like your email or something like that, to an estimator for insurance, or add it to your cart, stuff like that, while watching TV.
Like, that's insane.
So I think obviously them buying Twitch, them having Amazon Prime Video is
It's huge.
going to be a huge thing for them. I really hope they don't get TikTok. I don't think that'd be. I mean, obviously, a lot of people make a lot of money. I just don't think that. I mean, talk about a monopoly.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, exactly.
You have the full funnel, fulfillment, all the way to the
Control
distribution
everything.
of
Yeah, it's
content.
probably not the best. But I want to go back on specifically when we were talking about like retainers and just blowing money out.
Oh yeah.
Just because that's the main thing people are looking at after, let's just say, they decide on the product. They're like, okay, let me just start trying to market. Because I know people that from the Amazon space specifically came into private label and they're just doing videos themselves. Like especially if you don't have no prior history with organic marketing, you're not going to do well. You know, it's going to take you a little bit if you are going to do well, just because it's a skill that you attain. Unless you've done TikTok back in like 2015 or something, but it's a skill you attain. So like, it's more having about the unlock of, okay, I'm gonna pay this random person $500 for 30 videos, right? A lot of people don't feel good doing that. They rather spend $500 on PPC, on ads, on Amazon, right? But the return is just not
Immediate
there.
gratification. It's immediate gratification.
Exactly. Whether it does well or not, like you get immediate results in my head, right? Immediate results.
It's immediate testing, which you can obviously still do, but at least putting some into the aspect of the creators. And I think the main difference from bulk supplements is I think they blew their whole load right away. You know what I mean? It's like they immediately were out, in and out. Like
Yeah. They
and
blew their budget.
They blew their budget immediately, and I think Goalie and other companies are being more strategic about how they deploy those funds, and even us, of understanding that it's going to take a few months to see the return from those dollars spent, but that they'll continue to see those results and returns over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Versus same-day results.
Yeah, my head is like the more you spend on this, the longer it will take to get some returns, right? Because you can spend $500 on one affiliate, 30 videos. All you need is one video to do like decent, to get a return, Now when you're spending obviously like 10, 20, 30, that's when it's like, okay, one video to bring that, it's going to take a little bit longer, right? Because it has to be like a really good viral video. Mm-hmm. It's not hard to do 500 GMV, it's harder to do 20K GMV, like in my head, one single video. But obviously now you have better bets and more bets, right? Because if you spend 20K, I mean, let's just say you get 20 affiliates, that's 600 videos, you're doing 30 videos. And some of them are going to be 60 videos as we do. Some of them are going to be 90 videos. But let's just say 600 videos, now you got a lot more bets, especially if they're good affiliates.
Yeah, and you double down on what works, right? So say you sign 10 people, you're probably only going to want to re-sign like 5 of them or something like that, statistically. And then you can keep doubling down on the creators that are doing well, trying to get more videos from them. And so instead of 30, you're doing 60, 90, and kind of getting them more long-term partners and growing with you. And they're going to work on the different creatives. And you can kind of, as we've been talking about, the creative management side of it is huge. I mean, it seems like the variable of the difference between like a bulk supplements and a brand that does really well.
In my head, what I've been thinking about recently is I've seen it before, right? I've seen brands partner up with creators, give them some equity, and now like they're pretty much a creator manager. So you pretty much give equity to creator manager, but the creator's really fucking good, so him himself could bring you great returns, and like he has a good group of people like he could bring on, right? So I think that's huge in my opinion. That's why I feel like a lot of people are scared to give out equity. Obviously, I'm not. I'm the last person to really care, but where you seem that it's worth it, So like let's just say you came from a space that you're not even putting yourself on camera, right? Because we know people, I mean, you're a perfect example. You've done 8 figures on Amazon, barely showing your face, on social media, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people like that in my head. Obviously not doing 8 figures, but doing decent numbers that aren't used to putting themselves on camera, being stupid, right? Because with TikTok, it's pretty much stupid videos, for 90% of the videos that go viral. Pretty fucking stupid. You show it to your family, but then you tell them how much you made from the video, then you're like, okay. But the other thing, partnering up is good, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely of the mindset of not to partner when you can hire, but there's obviously strategic partnerships. I think most people try to kind of overthink it, like I need like LeBron or something like that to It's like, why would LeBron's not partnering with you if you give him 100%?
Yeah,
like,
doesn't matter.
I mean, these top influencers or whoever it is aren't interested in working with small brands because the leverage is so much lower than the opportunities that they're getting thrown all the time.
Agreed.
So kind of looking at where you are and partnering strategically from your position, I think most people are scared to do that because they're thinking about how much they're giving on the. They're like, there's going to be $100 million company, but we currently haven't sold anything. But like it's going to be, so like I don't want to give up too much now.
It's like the Shark Tank stuff that Rob done before, right? He gets people on, sell me the idea, and to see if I help you out with some dollars. And this one guy was like, I'll give you, 10 grand. Rob was giving him 10 grand for like 50%. He was like, no, I can't do that. And he started laughing. He was like, I'll give you 10% or 5%. It's like, dude, you haven't sold nothing. So like that's one thing I always tell people, like, don't be too attached to the product you're making, especially at the jump. No one's gonna believe in it more than you, unless you're fucking creating something insane. But even then, right? Because you have no proof. There's no data. You can say like, oh, this brand's doing that, but that's that brand. Go make another ashwagandha. Let's say you're doing 5 mil a month on TikTok, right? So that's why, some people take it as disrespect, but like I obviously don't, just because there's no data to back it up, right? Like, and that's when it's like it doesn't make sense to give out 50% of the company because one, doesn't make sense on your end because it could be something, but right now it's not nothing. So like, don't try to sell it, in my head.
Thinking about the marketing angle of the product in the product development is pretty huge too, because it can be a great product, but if it's literally one of the if it's the hardest product ever to like make videos for in the creator marketplace, it's like, it's basically, it doesn't matter how good it is.
Yeah. It's like a chair, right? Like, someone's obviously going to say something, oh, you could market a chair amazingly, but still.
Someone's going to do it.
Someone's going to do it.
Maybe
Someone
one
is
of
doing
you.
that. But obviously it's not as big as something that hits like an emotional point, hits a insecurity, which there's so many fucking products. There's insecurities coming out every single day. And also not following trends in my head, right? Following trends that are going to be evergreen.
Because if right now you're like, this is a big trend, I'm going to hit it now, and then you're in product development for 2-3 months, you get launched, and then it's like...
It's dead.
It could, it's on the back end of that trend.
Yeah.
So it's just not a long-term way of thinking versus looking at the broader market and thinking in, years and decades versus months.
That's kind of how you have to be thinking, right? Especially with this. Like, you're building equity, right? You're making money still.
Yeah. You're hoping that you're going to build something to a point where it's either so great that you don't want to sell it, or that someone else will buy it from you. And if the trend is dead in a few years from now, nobody's buying it from you and you're not making any money in the company that you just built. And starting to go for equity instead of the cash flow and hustling of flipping products and lots of other businesses like dropshipping. Dropshipping seems a little easier to flip into a equitable once you kind of just brand it. Like there's branded dropshipping. But just switching that mindset from the hustle to the equity and brand building, and actually building businesses. You can still build wholesale businesses and brand direct businesses and stuff like that, like Pattern and other big companies, which are worth something. You can sell those companies. I do think that the multiple that you'd be getting for those companies might be lower, but they're also probably easier to grow because you're kind of arbitraging still.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of businesses like that.
They're just joining a marketplace, right? Not creating their marketplace. Because pretty much it doesn't matter if someone's doing $1 billion in your industry. Like, you're creating demand for your product, for your brand. So your marketplace is dead. That's why I tell everybody that your marketplace is dead. You're building your marketplace. There might be someone doing $1 billion in your market, but that's not you. Right? People know that brand. People people don't know your brand. So you kind of have to position yourself in that manner. Don't try to move like a goalie if you're trying to make an ashwagandha gummy because you're not goalie. Right?
And goalie didn't even push like goalie does in the beginning.
Exactly.
Right? So everyone sees what people are doing now that they're successful in any industry, any whatever, even athletes and whatever it is, but they weren't doing those same things in the beginning.
To get there.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Goalies giving out crazy amount of money, but they didn't do that when they launched, right? So thinking about it like that's good because it kind of changed the perspective on people. Where like, okay, I don't have $100,000 to give out on retainers. You don't need $100,000.
Good.
Exactly. You're in the best position.
You wouldn't do very well with it anyways. You just burn
true.
it, right? Especially if you don't have the mindset and like the thought process of how to go about it. So it's good that you don't have the money because this is the opportunity for you to learn to burn a couple thousand a month that you do have and start to actually learn how to spend that money efficiently.
Yeah.
Because you can get $100,000, that doesn't mean anything. You can still waste it.
I think learning to hire is huge, right? Especially in this space because you're kind of trusting someone's creativity, right? Like you're hiring, but you're not telling them like, hey, do this, do this, do this. If you are, then you're just screwing yourself over in a way because You know, we're hiring people pretty much from retainers. We're not telling them like, hey, post only these videos. We're pretty much saying like, hey, speak in this language. That's all. Do what you're fucking doing, right? Because we hire them because they have good history, and their history is based on their creativity, right? Once you start limiting that, that's the biggest factor that makes it a big win or big loss. So I think that's the biggest takeaway a lot of people don't think about when they're hiring someone on retainer, you know? Because you might have a list of 10 videos that have went viral and send it to them like, hey, just duplicate this. At that point, why hire them?
Yeah.
Just get a VA to fucking shoot those videos, or
With
just you shoot them,
samples or
or just you shoot them. You know, like in my head, you have to start trusting people in this type of industry because it's all creativity, right?
and it's a test. You know, you're going to re-sign the best people that do well for you. And the whole point of the retainers in the beginning, I think, is to find those people.
Yeah.
And also to convince people to post your brand. When you first start a brand, nobody has any incentive because they're likely not going to make money when they post the videos for your brand. So it's like, how do you get to the point where people are interested in even posting your brand? Having high trust, having a good listing, having a lot of reviews, having a lot of things sold on the site, on the listing. You're building a listing just like on Amazon, and that's going to affect the conversion rate of views even. If someone gets 1 million views for your product, brand new product, no reviews, I mean, how many are you really going to sell? I mean, even if it's a great video, like that would have a great conversion rate for another brand, but your listing is just not there, you're not going to have that conversion rate, which is why they're not going to promote your product in the first place. I think a lot of big brands also are in a position where they don't have to even pay people because people are interested. People know that they'll make money with your product.
Yeah, if you make a good video, you'll make money, right? It converts well, and that's what we've been talking about recently. As like, you know, just us saying like, okay, we have to get to a point where the brand's doing decent. We're like, the retainers we're getting, they'll just promote it for free. You get me? Because eventually it will be like that. You know, eventually we'll cut some people off, and they'll still promote it because maybe they made some good money, right? That's kind of the biggest thing. Like trying to get a Evil Goods when they're at 10K sold, a Goalie when they're at 10K sold on TikTok, right? Being in that early stages is good because that's where the biggest growth happens. Like you mentioned before, like the 0 to 100K, that's where like it grows quick, right? The 100, you maybe sold 80K in the last month. So think about it, that's insane. So being one of those creators, you could really make over 100 grand in a single month just from one single product.
But you have to get to the point where those creators, you know, from a brand perspective, that the creators are going to want to promote your brand. And I think that's somewhere between, you know, a few thousand and 10,000 sold is when you're going to start seeing more traction on conversion rate, on people wanting to promote your brand.
And I think being heavy on socials is the biggest factor on that, in my opinion. Like now that I really think about it, the past couple of weeks is like, maybe you start following some TikTok shop affiliates, right? They're not gonna promote your product yet, but you're constantly posting about it. Okay, we're almost done with the R&D phase. We're putting this inside and stuff like that. We're doing this. This is the biggest factor. This is the biggest change for us.
During
Affiliates
those
see
2-3
that-
months where you're not, you know.
Exactly. Affiliates see it, like, okay, there's a big, there's interesting change, right? They're like, okay, I take this supplement, but it's interesting how you're changing this because I thought it was good for you. Now it's not. I think that's a good angle.
If you can get the creators to buy into the product.
Exactly. But don't like tell them directly in my head, right? Don't message an affiliate like, hey, we're this. Like, dude, just be. That's why I think documenting the journey in the R&D phase and public is great. Obviously, there's some downsides to it because someone could just join, I guess, but there's no such thing as competition. So I always go back to that. But I think that's something I wish I would have done, especially with the new brands we're doing now, you know? Just documenting because you sell people on the product when it's not even out yet. So now they're kind of eager, like, okay, I think I could do pretty well with this product. I can't wait till it's out. Especially if there's like a big competitor. So let's just say, for example, if you want to launch something like some Yerba Magic, insane competitor. They just sold 130K units last 30 days. Imagine being like the first person on a new product similar to that with good branding, right? That's kind of like my thinking. Like affiliates see that. Affiliates know a good product because some of them are very early on some products. And that also involves networking, you know, like obviously Creators Corner, they have Rob's offer where they build brands. So some of them build amazing brands and they funnel that to Creators Corner affiliates and they just crush it. But I think just building a good network, I feel like obviously that's what has helped us, you know, because we have a good network of a solid 10 affiliates that don't have to pay a dime. Obviously we pay them commission, they get great commission, they get higher commission than everybody else, but
Yeah, that SWAT team that, you know, alpha SWAT team that's just kind of gets that brand off the ground, because at the end of the day, you're either going to have to find those people and connect with them through that brand story, through that kind of founder story of leading up to launching that brand, because you're you're not posting about your brand that you're launching, trying to convince people to buy it. You can trying to convince people to promote it, right?
Free marketing.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of, you're either gonna have to connect with those people and pay them, or just pay them. But you're still gonna get better results if you connect with them beforehand, because then they're not just gonna take your $1,000 retainer
Exactly.
and post crappy videos or whatever it is and run off with your money. You'll actually see a return from it, and they'll work with you on the creatives that are working. They'll actually take feedback from what you're kind of seeing in the marketplace. You can be like, hey, this is a new video that's doing really well in our category. They can replicate it and put their own creative spin on it.
Exactly. We've been talking so much about retainers, but I mean, it's like the biggest, it's the marketing, right? It's the marketing of this, right? Whether you do no retainers and you're just doing videos yourself, you're doing videos. Videos is what sells the product. So I want
It's
to
the
touch
gas
on
on the fire.
Exactly. You know, there's no fire if there's no videos, right? You can have an amazing product, but if it's just on TikTok with no videos, I mean, who's gonna buy it? No one's searching up a product.
Nobody
right?
sees it.
It's not like Amazon.
It's not even going to rank in the searching. You know, unless
Exactly.
you're running search ads, then you're just running ads.
So I do want to touch on like a little bit that like the unlock we kind of had recently, in my opinion, is going for those higher tier affiliates and paying them more, right? Like it might be a little scary, you know, like, oh damn, this affiliate wants $3,000 for 30 videos, $100 a video. It's insane. But like obviously we're getting better returns on those than someone that we're paying $200 for 60 videos, $200 for 100 videos, right? Like, but for I feel like most people that looks more enticing, right? Like, ooh, I get this person for $1 a video. Let's fucking go. You don't want bottom of funnel videos, right? You want someone that actually like, you know, like
It's going to work on the
yeah.
creative side. That'll actually increase all the sample requests that you're getting. People are going to start replicating the videos of the retainers that you're giving.
Exactly. Like think about it. If you pay someone $3,000 for let's just say 10 videos, something crazy, $300 a video. Right?
Don't hit me up for that.
$300 a video, something crazy. They go viral, and let's just say they only bring in $3,000 in GMV. So let's just say you got a 1 ROAS, but 10% of the viewers are affiliates, and let's just say 1% converts into sample requests. Now you got someone else just like him or just like her that they're good, they're great affiliates, but you didn't pay $300 for that one video. You paid $12, $15, the sample cost and the shipping label. So I think that's one thing people just don't look at, obviously. Obviously, you're kind of depending on something that you just can't factor, right? You can't,
It's not direct correlation.
it's not on paper, but you know that it's happening. As we've seen, you know, we get a viral video, we get 20, 30 sample requests that are solid sample requests, like 100K GMV last 30 days. Like it's solid, right?
People don't believe that they can do well with your product if they haven't seen others do it.
Exactly. There has to be some example, you know? And that's why I think having an in-house team is solid, you know, having a good group of affiliates that, one, are your friends, or you just hire someone really solid.
And I think most people's route to doing that is working with groups and stuff like that, which we've tested. I think we've, over time, brought it more in-house. Obviously, we had it fully in-house, then we tried to get it to scale a little bit,
Yeah.
giving out percentages of those retainers to those affiliate or agencies. I think there's a lot less brand management, and it's kind of just paying for that connection and paying to convince the creators to even work with your thing a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the lazy way for sure, because a lot of the agencies all have the same people. You know, they might not be signed to the agencies, but they're getting retainers through other people as well.
Exactly.
So it's like you can be talking to a bunch of different agency type people, and a lot of them have.
Like
the
they can
same
say, hey, I
pool.
have 700, I have 700, I have 700. But like now, really, in reality, it's only like 100 because everybody's in every group, you know, of solid affiliates. And that's like a biggest thing too, like knowing where to go to throw out those retainers in my head, you know?
And even if you know where to go, whether or not you have a result can be from the product itself and the way that you're communicating with these affiliates and managing them. Obviously, we've been working closely with Surgify.io and kind of breaking down the barrier, because most of these agencies are charging 20, 30, 40% of the retainers. So you spend
Exactly.
$10,000 on retainers, they're taking 3, 4, 5 grand on top of that for a little bit of management.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, you could be giving all of that to more creators and get 50% more videos posted
Exactly.
with the same quality, because you're already paying people, you know, a lot of money. So
Yeah, like even right now, like obviously we deem it as worth it because there's no other solution right now besides obviously Surgify, where it's getting built up. I think Surgify would probably be the place to spend retainers, especially like at scale, because you can't spend, in my opinion, you can't spend 100 grand with any agency right now. Now you probably could, but they're probably charging you like $1,000 a video. I'm saying like strategically you can't spend 100K with any group.
And even when you're spending lower amounts, it takes weeks
Exactly.
to deploy that money.
As we've seen, as we're doing, like even trying to deploy 20 grand, it's hard. Right? Obviously, it depends on the product too. Like don't just look at this at face value, create a shit product, and try to spend 20 grand on retainers. Like people are gonna take your money, but obviously you need to make a good product, good branding. But that's kind of, I mean, obviously that's kind of basic knowledge, right? Don't make some bullshit product, but
Yeah. Once you launch a good product, then it's kind of the whole mission is to get those creators on board.
exactly, and
So
it'll be easier if
onboarding
it's a decent
creators.
product, yeah. But yeah, I think Surgified will be the place just because it's decentralized, right? It's like not tied in with any group. You're not paying that extra 20, 30%. Some people are charging 50%, which is insane, right?
Not
You
only
spend-
that, but they're charging $50 a month, $100 a month, or 3-4 grand up front to
for
those
the
creators.
creators. Yeah, exactly. When they start charging the creators, it's just insane to me, you know? Like I can't comprehend that. That's why I love Surgified when I first saw it because, in my opinion, everybody could join, right? If you're with any group, it doesn't matter. It's just a marketplace. That's all it is, right? And then it shows your GMV. The brands will see it and decide if they say, you know, and you can send offers, which is great. I just feel like
I
it's
don't
gonna
think
be
a
a
lot
good
of those
place.
creators realize how much money is being taken from them, from those groups.
It's insane, like in my head, you know.
Most of the information is out there. I mean, how much, like, really, like, in-depth information is in these groups that is even, like, worth it?
Yeah, early on, I think maybe it was worth it, right? Let's just say first month in launch. Okay, I'll probably pay 3 grand. I would have paid 3 grand. Shit, if I would have known about it, oh my god, take my money. 3 grand a month I'll give you. You get me? Until now, but now I just think there's so much free game out there just on YouTube on like how to become a good affiliate and stuff like that. I just don't think it's worth. In my opinion, you don't even need those videos, right? Because it's just like being you, being funny and stuff like that, knowing how to go viral. That's it. You know, people have been going viral. Like people have been teaching people how to go viral pre-organic drop shipping, right? Like it's insane. So there's so many videos that could be applied to TikTok Shop. That's all I don't think it's worth it. Obviously, the community aspect is great. You know, being around people that are doing the same thing as you is amazing, as we've seen. But obviously, I don't think it's worth 3, 4, 5 grand. You know?
It's almost more the mindset thing. It's like, all you need to do is post a lot of videos daily, and most people won't do it unless they feel like they paid for something, right? So someone's much more likely to put the time investment in when they already put the money investment.
Exactly.
Right?
As we've seen, you know, like we have a free group entirely for free, you know, and it's helped people like our friends make over 10 grand a month, you know, consistently. So, but it's just like no one obviously puts in the time and effort to look through those videos because they didn't pay for it. You know, that's like the biggest thing I'm trying to still understand, you know, trying to help out these affiliates the most I can because obviously it benefits us, right? The more brands we're launching, the more affiliates on the platform, it's better for us because the more better affiliates will come, you know? So that's the biggest unlock that I'm trying to have is just trying to convince these affiliates that you don't have to pay for the knowledge, right? You're just paying for the community, but there's X. X is great, you know, just get an X account. There's a community. So
all
many
you need.
affiliates on there, dude. It's great.
A lot of big affiliates doing free calls and free community. On the creator side, it just doesn't, long term, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense to charge creators.
Yeah.
Because so
People are
much
just getting their
more.
bag now, which is, I mean, it's fine.
Big bags. Good amount of money.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars from these groups that they advertise their big hitters. You know, even the very best groups, they'll have 1,000 people, and then they'll have like 50 that are making, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50K a month. You know, they have those 100K months, a few of them. And that just is great advertising for them to get thousands more people to pay them thousands.
Yeah.
And they get millions of dollars from that. And then I think a lot of them are providing kind of as much value as they can to those creators, but there's not that much outside of the mindset and like just helping people stay consistent on it that they can really do. And I think there's so much upside with working with creators that there's no need to charge. People will do it for free,
Exactly.
like us, because there's so much upside in just being connected with them, helping them out. Even if they're not promoting our stuff, just being in the industry and connected with people, it's huge. Obviously, most of us are just posting video or just affiliates as well in there, just helping each other. Because I think affiliates get the most value from other affiliates, not brand owners or people
Exactly.
that don't have no idea what they're talking about.
Exactly.
They're trying to tell you what to do, what to post, and it's like the other people
You want
doing
other
it.
affiliates, even if they're like the same level as you. You just want to talk to other affiliates, being realistic. That's why I think the community aspect is great, but I don't think it's needed, especially if like they're selling you like, hey, join our group and you'll get retainers. Dude, there's retainers everywhere. You gave me there's retainers everywhere. You don't have to join the group. You don't have to pay thousands to get a retainer. You know.
And that's mainly what it is too. I think people are just stuck in kind of the regular mindset of like, going to college and stuff like that, they're used to paying $50,000, even tech schools and stuff like that, $20,000 or whatever, putting a bunch of time into it, taking courses that make no sense, waste of time. So they're like, oh, I can pay $3,000 and start making $2,000, $3,000. I mean, that's a great return.
Oh, it's still amazing. I'm not saying it's not.
It's an amazing return, but like, it's not even required.
That's not needed. There's so much free info. The game is just so much free info. So in my head, you're only paying for the community, which like you shouldn't be, because there's social platforms you could just join, and people like you post any result, people are going to start engaging. As we've seen. That's more obviously on the affiliate side when we were talking more about the brand side, but it matters because at the end of the day, like, you should be pretty involved with your affiliate group. If you're not, obviously have a affiliate affiliate manager that like is doing great, right? As we've seen, people who are managing these brands, they're really involved with creators. Like
That's
Jimmy's
the main
still
thing.
involved with his creators, and like in my opinion, I don't think he should, but he still is, which is great. I think that's great on his end. Obviously they're paying a good amount, but it's obviously worth it because he has messaging these top creators that when they weren't top, right, when they're like struggling, they're like, hey, I need help and stuff like that. Just giving them that little push, that little mindset push, motivation. It's great because, like you mentioned, it's all about mindset with this type of thing, on the affiliate side, even on the brand side. Just being really involved. Because at the end of the day, like, you could pay someone $1,000 for 30 videos, but if you're not even like keeping up with them and stuff like that, telling them like, hey, I think this was a great video, keep at it, like, they're just looking at you like a bank, As we've seen, there's a lot of affiliates like that. But those are the low-level affiliates, I would say.
It's also your own fault as a brand.
Yeah.
Obviously, no matter what you do, some people are going to do that. But at the end of the day, if you kind of position yourself better and take the actions that you're saying, you're going to see those better results.
I think just personal brand alone helps so much with those results too, Like, I have people that we have on retainers right now messaging me, it's like, dude, I've been following you, like, I've seen your personal brand videos, like, oh, this is sick, like, I even know that we hired them, obviously, since like we're working with like a good amount of groups now. So it's just really cool now seeing it, because they're like, oh, you inspired me, I want to launch a brand, which is great. I always tell people, at the end of the day, you could be a nomad making a shit ton of money, or you could launch a brand, make a shit ton of money. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but I think personal brand helps a lot with the trust factor and just building a connection with the affiliates, because a lot of people feel like they know. I don't know, let's just say some famous YouTuber, and like, dude, like, the famous YouTuber doesn't even know you exist, but you feel like you know him just because of the YouTube videos.
You walk up to him, you see someone on the street, and you like, in your mind, like, you're acting like they're a friend. Or
exactly,
like
you know everything about this kid. Yeah, which is crazy to me sometimes when I think about it, but it's pretty cool, I guess. Like, you built that loyalty without even trying to build it, in my head, like when you're that YouTuber, and that's powerful. Especially in this type of game, you kind of have to try to build,
It's leverage.
Try to build loyalty. And that's why I think, obviously, giving out retainers, having a cool little campaign where people earn prizes, just gamifying it is great, because, the affiliate space, a lot younger kids.
That's a good point. You're not really selling the older folks.
Not really, yeah. It's very few. There's some killers out there, but for the most part, it's always younger kids with any product,
Which is why a lot of the products that lean towards the younger generation, I think, have done well. Gummies, whatever it is, things that hit insecurities of younger people.
But the cool thing is, like, all the insecurities, for the most part, they're pretty broad, right? If they hit the younger people, there's going to be some older people that are hit with it too. So that's why it's great, but insecurities are good at angle at it, but where they solve insecurities more of like, don't make it insecurity, solve insecurity. Is my,
don't create
yeah, don't create it. Don't create an insecurity so you can sell the product. That's kind of, how you mentioned is like, I know you told me it before, where you kind of have to tell them, like, if they're already, sell something that people are already using. Kind of brain fart, but like, sell something that people are already using, because if you kind of have to sell them on something that they kind of have to go out their way to use, it's probably like less likely to convert. They can still do well, as we've seen, but.
Convincing someone to use yours instead of to start doing something is also a different mindset shift in there. Like, the convincing factor has to be much higher for them to start trying something.
Exactly.
Versus just using yours. So using your lotion instead of starting to use lotion, it's like a much bigger like factor of, they're changing their lifestyle, not just changing their purchase habits.
Exactly.
And I think that can be a big factor in your growth in the beginning. So when you are launching your first product, thinking about something where you're just convincing someone to use yours instead of trying to get them into this new thing and like whatever it is going to be much harder because of the habits. Because you're trying to get them to create a new habit instead of just continue their current habit
Exactly.
using yours.
Yeah, something big I was thinking about recently, which I think is good for anybody that wants to start a brand to think about, right? I don't think it's needed, you know, at the end of the day, but it's for sure interesting to think about, right? How out their way are they going to use the product, you know?
Ease of use.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought process when I think about it sometimes. And also like where you're from, right? Like you're not gonna get snow boots living in the desert.
Seasonal products.
Seasonal stuff is very important. Don't try to be in the seasonal stuff. Having obviously down the line, having eventually like different SKUs out there that are specific towards like let's say weather or something like that could be great because it's easier to like launch a SKU and an existing brand because you can just start traction from the jump, you know?
It's easier to launch a second SKU than a new brand.
Exactly.
We know that.
Exactly.
Much harder.
Which is fun in my opinion because like once you built the foundation,
Yep.
now you can just start throwing new stuff at it, you know?
You test new products, you know, maybe some of them fail, but it's not a failed new brand. It's just a failed product launch within your brand.
Yeah.
And you'll continue to test and iterate on top of that. And you can get feedback from your current customers of why they didn't buy it or what they liked, whatever it is, versus a new brand. Nobody's there to even ask that question or
Yeah.
get those answered questions. I feel like we spoke on kind of the 0 to 10.
Yeah, pretty much like the 0 to launch to decent scale. Obviously, the 10 to 100 is where we're trying to get to right now. with
Can't
the
really
current
speak
brand.
on that.
Yeah, can't really speak. We'll give you guys tips on what we're doing, but
We can talk on it, but
not gonna speak with much conviction. I'll tell you that much. Obviously, the steps we're doing, you know, from 0 to 10, we didn't spend much on retainers. At the end of it, we were spending a good amount, but like pretty much 0 to 10, we didn't spend a single dime on retainers. We had a campaign.
none of the sales were from retainers.
Yeah,
really.
exactly. We didn't even need the campaign, being realistic. You know, like we didn't need the campaign. We just had it just because I thought it would do well from the jump. I guess that's what we could talk on a little bit too. Having a launch campaign is not really enticing because you're launching, right? Like you don't have sales on your product. You don't have good reviews, like a good amount of reviews. You know, so like affiliates don't really care if you have something like 1,000 GMV, you get 1,000 cash. It doesn't matter. Just give them a retainer in my head, right? Now you can have GMV bonuses, something slight, you know, internally, but it's not really needed when you're launching. Now at scale, it's really nice because that's where you get people to promote it for free. You know, you just pay for the samples. And it's like reward based. So like someone that does 0 GMV is not gonna get nothing, but someone that does 100K GMV, they get something cool, which they deserve because they brought you 100K, and like that's evergreen, right? Like the LTV on that, depending on the product, will be really well. And also the other affiliates they bring on from their videos, right? That get recreated, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, 10 to 100, I'd say we're trying to obviously build a decent in-house team, you know, I'd say, and testing out a good amount in retainers.
Yeah, 10 to 100 retainers, really dialing down the creator management. I mean, the main thing that you're looking at day to day is the creatives that are working, doubling down on what does work, things that are going viral, current trends, because launching a product because of a trend is much different than making videos based on a trend, because the videos based on the trend are going to do well, and you can continuously jump on the new trend with your product. And the more broad your product is, the more angles there's going to be for it.
Exactly. There's so many angles from like viral products right now, they still haven't got hit, you know, which is crazy to think about. But it probably has got hit, but it hasn't went viral yet, you know, but it could go viral. I mean, any angle could go viral. But yeah, that's the interesting thing to think about, in my opinion. You look at the product, you're like, okay, all the angles got hit. It's like, no, dude, there's so many fucking angles. Like,
There's always a new angle.
people are comparing chopping your leg off to ashwagandha. Just think about that. That's all. Videos are going viral.
That one's cooked, but there's still going to be just how broadly. That's why the supplement niche is such a.
I mean, everybody's launching supplements right now, right? Because they see these people, you know, do a good amount. You know, like Rob sell 30 mil, you know, that's amazing. But he was early. You know, being early in the category is very nice. I feel like it's the thing people don't think about. Mm-hmm. And the growing category is interesting, right? There's products that are already out right now, but some of them are gonna be exploding in the next couple of years. Imagine being early in that, like, you know.
Supplements is the number one thing people can get into, though, just because it's such a broad market. Everyone's already using them.
Yeah.
So getting them to use yours, selling them on why to use yours.
Yeah, but my head is like launching a creatine. Is like, I mean, we obviously know some people that launched some creatines recently that are doing pretty well, some pre-workout stuff. But in my head, I'm just like, I don't know. Doesn't seem like the best thing to launch, especially if you're trying to go in the supplement space.
A growing market.
It's easy to sell, in my opinion, probably, right? If you do like $1 million your first year, someone could buy it just because there's people doing like 100 mil. You know, I think bulk supplements doing what, 20, 30 mil on Amazon. So there's growth there. Like there's potential growth from the market, but it's just so much harder, in my opinion. Because there's more brands, as we've seen, you know, like the more brands in your niche that come up, especially if you're the first one and you're doing decent, there's gonna be other brands. That's why I'm pretty surprised there's like not another Yerba Magic, you know, some.
Soon. We're cooking something up.
Imagine. No, that's what I'm actually surprised on, right? Evil Goods came out. There's like 4 or 5 beef talos. There's obviously only like 1 or 2 that are doing really good, really fucking good, but there's nothing in the Yerba Magic. Maybe they're just buying all the Yerba Mate that's coming imported. Maybe.
I'm sure there are some, but obviously nothing, there's no like
Nothing in
close number
comparison.
twos.
Yeah, nothing in comparison. Maybe we're just not looking too, you know, but that's very interesting, you know. Obviously, as we know, going into certain markets, there's some people doing some gray market stuff, things that they probably shouldn't be doing, but just because the opportunity is insane. That's why I think really doing things the right way, which obviously could hurt your margins. You're like, oh fuck, you know, I'm not
Short term.
making, you know, hurt your margins short
Thinking
term, but
long
like
term.
long term wise, your brand's LTV
Thinking
is
the
gonna be
5 to
insane.
10 year
Yeah.
instead of the what are we gonna make this year.
And even if you don't plan to keep the brand, right? Some people might build a brand planning to exit. Still, like, someone has to buy it and someone has to look at the return, right? So you're not planning for that 10 years. Or you're just like, okay, I'm gonna get to $1 million this year. But if there's no growth after that, who's gonna buy it? You know, being realistic. Unless you give them a crazy discount, but that'd be just stupid on your end, right? So actually, still seeing that like the 5 to 10, the decade-long plan, even if you plan to sell it, you know. Because at that point, you have to sell someone on it. But yeah, I love the brand building side. Obviously, the affiliate side was amazing, but the brand building side is just so much fun. Because you're creating something from scratch, you know? That's why, you know, obviously I always tell people, if you want to launch a brand, start as an affiliate. But and like what, R&D phases last 2-3 months. Do affiliate side on the side, you know, during that. So you could build that skill.
Content creation.
Exactly.
Because at the very least, you're still gonna have to manage them or have some type of idea. Because even if you're gonna hire someone to manage them, how do you know that that person managing them is doing a good job?
That they even know, right? That's the thing.
How do you
Because
know?
people just look at the metrics, but there's people doing 5K GMV months, which is like what, 1K commission months. But it's just because product selection, right? You look at the videos, okay, I think this guy could go viral with my product. And I feel like that's the key, because at that point you get them at a major discount, you know? And the only way you'll
Investing in
know.
creators early too, yeah.
Exactly. The only way you'll know is knowing how to make a good fucking video, right?
Knowing what is a good video.
Exactly.
What is a good creator.
Not just like, oh, this guy hit 1 million views on this product, he's gonna do it with
He
mine.
posted 1,000 videos, only 1 blew up.
Exactly.
And then he's selling himself for those retainers on that 1 blow up, which, you know, is what they should do, because
Yeah,
that's
fair
how
play.
they make money. But
Yeah, fair play. But at the end of the day, the top creators are getting most of their money from commissions, because that's where the real money's at. But obviously you have to establish your brand a good amount to get there, to convince the creators, kind of going back on what we were talking about. But that's the main thing with TikTok space especially. But it's nice, dude. Once you build that foundation, you go on Amazon, you get to spill over.
oh, yeah, long.
How long is it?
73.
Huh?
73.
73? Holy shit.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be a wrap. We didn't know we were talking for this long. I thought it was like 30 minutes, but if you stayed until the end, feel free to message us, especially if you want to launch a brand. I always just love helping people. I think it's great.
You know, just networking, meeting up with people. We're usually in a different city every month, so we'll be kind of around, and we can do meetups if you follow us and see us in your city.
Just message us, and, you know.
Hit the DMs.
Sir.
It's raining.